In this video, we're going to be taking a look on pages Excel 64 and 65 in which we're going to apply a conditional formatting. Now, so far you've used formatting to change the appearance of different types of data, but you can also use formatting to highlight important aspects of the data itself. Now, for example, we can apply formatting that changes the font color to red for any cells where an ad costs exceed $100. And also we can change it to green where ad cost is below $50. Now, whenever you apply those conditions to it, to where if it's above 100 it's red and if it's below 50 it's green, this is what we call conditional formatting. And that's because Excel will automatically apply different formats to data if it meets the conditions that you specify. Now, of course, the formatting is updated if you change data in the worksheet. Now, of course, you can also copy conditional formats the same way as you copy any other formats. So let's take a look at this and let's work with some of this. On page Excel 64, let's take a look at step 1. And step 1 tells us that we want to select the range H4 down to H30. So maybe scroll down just a little bit here, but we want to choose H4 to H30. Then next what we're going to do is we want to click on the conditional formatting button, and of course that's in the styles group here on the home tab. And then of course notice that we have some different conditional formatting that we can apply. But in this case we're going to point to data bars. And then of course notice that we have some different options here. And what we want to do is we want to point to the light blue data bar. That's on there, and of course that is on the bottom row in the solid fill. That's on there. Of course you can also choose the one in the gradient fill, so let's choose the top one in the gradient fill. That's on there, so you can kind of see this. That's on there. It's the second row, second from the left. That's the one that we want to choose. So when we click on that, we now have data bars, which are colored horizontal bars that visually illustrate differences between values in a range of cells. Now, of course, the live preview showed how this formatting will appear in the worksheet. Now, of course, a quick tip is that you can also use the quick analysis tool, which is whenever you select the range and it's at the bottom of it, to create data bars, but you have fewer options and fewer choices. So if you want the full formatting or the full functional benefits to that, you need to go up here to the styles group and click on conditional formatting. But if we deselect this, you notice that of course the larger numbers have more color inside of the cell itself. So you could visually take a look at this and know which number was the largest. And of course, the smallest, it's a little bit more difficult, but you can always see that, well, this one don't really have any color, and this one doesn't have really color, so it kind of identifies the smaller numbers, and of course the larger numbers that's on there as well. Of course, if we wanted to change this, we can always select this, and we can go back up to conditional formatting and data bars, and on this one, let's change this and let's point to the green data bar. And of course that's the first row and the second one from the left. And of course that's the one we want to choose, and let's go ahead and click it. And of course now we notice that it has been changed from a blue to a green data bar on there. So you can point to it and it will do a live preview, or you can click on it and it will select it, and just to change it you can select it as well. Of course, a quick tip as well is that you can apply an icon set as well to a selected range by clicking the conditional formatting button in the styles group. And now then you can point to the icon sets, and of course which appear within the cells to illustrate differences in values. And of course icon sets, if we take a quick look at that, is just a little bit different, and we'll take a look at this in a live preview. If we select our range again and go to the icon sets, notice that we can have some different colors. There's some ups, downs, left, rights. We can have some shapes, and of course all these we can define these rules a little bit more. That's on there, but notice that you can have some icon sets that kind of flag some different information. So that's another type of conditional formatting, but we want to keep our green data bars that's on there. If we look at step 3, it tells us that we want to now select the range F4 to F30. So we're going to select this range right here. and it tells us that we're going to go to the Conditional Formatting button once again. That's in the Styles group. But this time, we're going to go and we're going to click on, or point to, we're going to point to these Highlight Cell rules. Now, of course, the Highlight Cell rules submenu displays choices for creating different formatting conditions. Of course, for an example, if we see on here that we can create a rule for values that are greater than or less than a certain amount, or that we can make it between two amounts, or equal to amount, or text that contains, or a date occurring, or anything that has duplicate values. So this is actually a pretty important, very valuable tool to use. So in this case, we're going to go to step 4, and it tells us that we want to click on Between on this submenu. And of course, what pops up is the Between dialog box. Now, right now, it displays input boxes that you can use to define the condition and a default format, which right now is a light red fill with dark red text, and selected for the cells that meet that condition, which right now our condition is any numbers that are between 1,898 and 5,633. Now, Excel's already chose that for us by default, but we can change that. Now, of course, depending on the condition that you select in the Highlight Cells rules submenu, such as greater than or less than, this dialog box displays different input boxes. Now, you can define the condition using the input boxes and then assign formatting you want to use for the cells that meet the condition. Now, values used in input boxes for condition can be constants, formulas, cell references, or dates. In step 5, we're going to make some changes to here, and the first thing we want to do is that we want to type in 2000 in the first text box. So we're going to change this to 2000. Of course, you'll notice that behind it, in the background of this, it's automatically changing as we type that in. Then, of course, in the second text box that's here, we want to change this to 4000. And then once we make that change, so what we're going to do is we want any cells that are between 2000 and 4000 to be highlighted, but we don't want it highlighted with a red fill with dark red text. We want to click on this, on there, and we want to choose a light red fill. So we click on this, and of course you can compare what you see on here, and we're going to click on OK. And of course you can deselect the text on here, and you'll notice that you can select your options and that anything that is highlighted is in between 2000 and 4000 that's on there. So that's a good way of kind of identifying any of the costs that are between those ranges that we're looking at. Now, of course, a quick tip on there, to define custom formatting for data that meets a condition, you can actually click the custom format at the bottom of the with list, and then use the Format Cells dialog box to set the formatting to be applied. And of course, if we would have that selected again, we could choose the format with, and there's a option at the bottom to where we can actually format it ourselves. Now, we can make some changes to this. For an example, let's say that we go to cell F7. And of course, right now the value is over 4000, so it's not selected. But let's change this to where it says 3975.55. When we press our Enter key, notice that, of course, we had some formulas here that changed as well, but since this is now within the range, it automatically updated, and that cost is now highlighted as well. So when the values changes, the formatting also changes because the new value meets conditions when they're set. Of course, if they don't meet the conditions, then they're deselected as well. Of course, go ahead and press your Control and Home key. That's going to get you back up to cell A1. Make sure that you do save your work. And then take a quick look at page Excel 65, which talks about managing conditional formatting rules. Now, if you create a conditional formatting rule and then want to change the condition to reflect a different value or format, you don't need to create a new rule. Instead, you can modify the rule using the Rules Manager. And of course, to do this, you can select the cells containing the conditional formatting. So let's just say that we want to select this range of cells right here. on there. We're not going to make any changes, but we'll just show you how you can go about the process of doing this. So once we select the cells containing the conditional formatting, we can go up to the Conditional Formatting button, and we can go here to the Manage Rules button on this submenu here that pops up. And of course then this is when we can change the rules that's on there, and we can actually edit our rule, and then we can notice that there's some changes that we can make here. You select the rule that you want to edit, click on Edit Rule, and then you can now modify the settings in this Edit Rule. Now of course the descriptions area and the editing formatting rule dialog box is there. Now to change the formatting for a rule, you can click on the Format button in the Edit Rule description area that's on there, and then select the formatting styles you want the text to have, and then you can click OK 3 times to close the Format Cells dialog box, then the Edit Formatting Rule dialog box, and then the Conditional Formatting Rules Manager dialog box. So you're going to have to click on Exit and Close several different times to get rid of these dialog boxes, to accept the changes, or cancel a couple different times to cancel the changes that's on there. Of course, the rule, once you have that modified, and the new conditional formatting is applied to the selected cells when you make the change. Now if you want to delete a rule, you can select the rule in the Conditional Formatting Rules Manager dialog box, and you can click the Delete Rule button, and that will delete the rule that you have. So go ahead and make sure that your spreadsheet is saved on there, and we're ready to move on to the next video on there, in which we're going to rename and move a worksheet inside of our workbook. So you're ready to move on to the next video.